And we're live. Peace, beloved. Peace, beloved. Peace, beloved. It's time to get fly, stay fly, and get on code. It's your man, Seiko Varner, back with another episode. I have with me some really hype guests that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. Today, we're talking about Biden's plans for Black Americans. And we're going to kind of dissect it. If you didn't know, President Trump and Joe Biden both have plans. And we're going to chat through those. Today with us from Afrosynergy News, we have the good brother T. West. How you doing, good brother?
Hey there, Seiko. How are you?
All right. Yeah, he's definitely one of the mentors in the house. As you can see, he has a lot of great videos. He's already kind of broken this down, so he'll probably end up being a lot of the content today. We have from TikTok with 404,000 viewers. My girl Onyx. How you doing, Onyx?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. She's unapologetically black. She's gonna bring some heat. It's gonna be hot. And I have my good, I guess I could say mother mentor, Sister Vangie Williams. She ran for Congress. She'll be running again. What's good, Queen?
Nothing much. Trying to get the vote on.
Vangie has the best stories. Always watch our channel because she pops in from time to time, dropping a new story. She had a great story on the immigrant background of her family. She had a great story on how she was raised primarily by strong, dedicated, fervent women and how that impacted her. So, what's up, Conrad? How you doing? What's good, Bernice? Deborah Berry? I think T. West comes with his own following. Because she says you're the best. Deborah Berry always brings it, no doubt, no doubt. And like I said, President Trump has a new platinum plan. Antonio Moore just called it a tinfoil plan.
Yeah, poor Antonio.
Joke I've heard already.
Hey, T. West, I don't want to go too deep into this, but I know that you had a video where you broke down Trump's platinum plan. And the reason we're bringing up Trump's plan is because Joe Biden has the Lift Every Voice plan for Black American, and Trump has the platinum plan. It sounds like he's selling us a credit card.
Or an album. He's trying to go platinum.
You don't get any higher than platinum. You got silver, you got bronze, you got gold, and you got platinum.
Okay.
So let's hear this. Okay.
All right. So, hey, T. West, in again, like 30 seconds, man, your thoughts on Trump's platinum plan. We're really going to dive in on Biden's plan, but I know you've researched this. You did a whole video on this. Vangie's just shaking her head. What are your thoughts on this plan, T. West?
Well, it is promises. But without promises, with promises, you have to have follow-up of forcing accountability. If you have a written plan, then it is incumbent upon us as African-American people, as Black people in America, to follow up and force whoever's making the promise, whether it's Trump or Biden, force them to abide and carry out their promise. So Trump came out with 11 main highlights with his plan, and Biden came out with 6 highlights in his plan. And I hope that in this program, we deal with the 11 that Trump brought up, at least some of that, and the 6 that Biden brought up in his what they're calling their Black agenda. I hope we deal with all of that, and let's focus on some critical areas too. Critical areas and some keywords. The keywords are very, very important. So there it is in 15 seconds, a little more.
A little more. Well, we're going to go dive deeply into Biden's plan for Black America. He says that African Americans can never have a fair shot at the American dream so long as entrenched disparities are allowed to quietly chip away at opportunity. So he says he's running for president to rebuild our economy in a way that finally brings everyone along. I think those are the key words there. Everyone along. And I'll share why I think that's key a little later on. Finally brings everyone along, and that starts by rooting out systematic racism from our laws, our policies, our institutions, and our hearts. That's going to be kind of interesting. This is on the tail of some work that T. West and I have been doing. We sat down and we chopped up Ice Cube's contract with Black America, and we juxtaposed it versus T. West has his own African-American national political agenda that he and his team have put together. We sat down and we chatted about the Black Lives Matter absence of a political agenda. You know, in America, they don't have a political agenda. They have some interests, but they don't have a political agenda. Now, T. West, you did share with us that in England, on the other side of the pond, Black Lives Matter has a real political agenda. They used to have one in 2016, but you've already shown they don't have one right now. And then we also looked at the ADOS 101 agenda. I actually kind of liked some of the things we found in the ADOS 101 agenda. And just to give some frame, ADOS is American Descendants of Slavery, and their focus is really on the lineage. And they're solely focused on people who would be considered foundational Blacks or ADOS. Foundational Blacks or ADOS. Now, so my ancestry would be foundational Blacks or ADOS. T. West, would yours?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, I know, Vangie, you have a very diverse immigrant Black background.
We've been here since 1649, so I'm definitely a descendant of slavery. 1649.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, okay. All right. You get your ADOS card. And you get an ADOS card. And you get an ADOS card. Onyx, what's good? With your family, would you be foundational Black or ADOS as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. ADOS is really kind of headed up by the light-skinned sister there, Yvette Carnell, and the lawyer there, the darker brother, Antonio Moore. I just like shouting out people so people can realize where this information came from. Yvette Carnell's page on YouTube, Antonio's page on YouTube. I also want to say that I want to shout out Jason Black. He says, this election, the issue is reparations, cut the check. And he put out this billboard in New York City. He actually put up 3 of them. He just achieved over 100,000 subscribers. So I want to say, salute to the good brother Jason Black. I'm also been pushing this empowerment agenda, and the empowerment agenda is for those who cannot legally vote, those who will not vote, those who are agenda-based voters, those who are independent, and those aligned with the party. And so just to go through this very quickly, if you can't vote, then what I'm saying to you is reach out via email, social media, or letter writing to your local and state representatives. Ask what they can do for you. All right. Help others with voter registration initiatives. Attend some of the political events and demand that the politicians do something for you with policies that impact you. And donate over $50 to the candidates you would support if you had the opportunity to vote. If you're not going to vote, I know there's a number of you like, I ain't voting. Get registered to vote, because if you're registered and you don't vote, that makes a stronger voice than you just not showing up. Now, I had some contact with some people who were saying that they're going to write in reparations for the various candidates, and that's how they're not voting. That's another way that might show your vote. But if you're not going to vote, please be registered, because being registered demonstrates that you're part of the number. And when you're absent and you've already been counted, it makes a difference. So if you're not going to vote, and if you're one of those folks who are like, I ain't voting, cool, be registered. And maybe do a mail-in and write in reparations. If you're a party voter. Now, I'm an agenda-based voter. I know Sister Vangie, you got your blue card.
I got my American card. It's red, white, and blue. I actually put a post out on Facebook the other day, and my husband, he called me up from work. He said, seriously, at 1:30 in the morning, what were you thinking? to put out a post saying, I don't care who you vote for, just vote for somebody. The thing is, yes, I ran as a Democrat, but let me tell you something. I grew up in a family who was all political affiliations. I mean, we got libertarians, we got the ones who claim that America is a hostage holder. I mean, I have it all. But the thing is, get out and vote for somebody. And if you don't like the candidates on your ticket, write in, like you said, reparations, but write in a candidate or somebody who you did support. And I'm not saying, I'm going to say this out loud right now. Vangie is not saying write Vangie on the ballot this time, because this race right here is one of the most critical races in our life's history, in our lifetime. So in Virginia, I can tell you, I'm ready to see some changes. But not voting at all is like saying you are accepting the leadership that's there and you are okay with it. If you vote, and I'm going to be very clear about this, because 2016, if there wasn't a lessons learned for you, then you need to go back and read it. You had Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I had Black folks who voted for Trump because of the, I'm going to say it nicely, the evangelistic church, who was the biggest supporter of Trump, and who came out and said, hey, he's against abortion. But let me ask you this question, folks. Are you aware that it is not Black folks out here getting massive abortions? It was white folks. And it was those in the church. And the same church that was telling y'all to vote for Trump, who's against abortion, they know who's getting the abortions. The fact of the matter is, when we start losing votes because you are one issue person, we have what we have now. Hypocrisy of democracy. It's embarrassing.
Gotcha.
It is embarrassing.
I'm just going through the empowerment agenda.
You gotta pick a party. Vote for some damn body. Somebody. That's somebody, because this cannot happen this year.
Well, the thing that I want to push with the party voters, if you're Democrat, Independent, Green Party, Libertarian, Red, Black, and Green Party, Republican, whatever, hit up those candidates and let them know what your agenda concerns are. And if their response will definitely speak volumes. If they don't listen to you, why are you supporting them? If they don't support your agenda items, why are you supporting them? All right. And for those who are like me, who are agenda voters, still reach out. So I'm Seiko Vaughn. I wanted to shout myself out. This is how I pay for this. All right. So I also wanted to shout out T West. So these are some of T West's African Americans' national political agenda items. And I always want to make sure we're aware of these. If you're not aware of the African Americans' national political agenda, these are some of the pieces right here. I'm not going to go through them all. Look them up. Look up T West Afro-Synergy News. And he has 21 pieces? 21 pieces. It's some good stuff. It's some things that are really foundational in this discussion that we're going to have. I definitely like number 21, that we should be encouraged to have social and economic ties with African peoples and countries. So I'm definitely about that. So once again, President Trump put out the Platinum Plan, but today we're really kind of looking at Joe Biden's plan for America. So let's chat it up. Onyx, have you had a chance to look over Biden's plan for Black America?
I'm mute.
Yes, I did. I did get a chance to look over it. I looked over it a while ago, and then I looked over it again when we last spoke about being on this platform. Got you.
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I was glad to see that he had a plan. Because so often what happens in our community is people come to kiss the babies when it's time to vote, and then we don't hear anything from them. They make us promises. They don't put anything in writing, and they never, ever say anything. I was pleasantly surprised about a lot of areas in his plan as far as the economic development and things of that nature. So I was very pleasantly surprised around that. But however, I do feel like his plan needs a lot more work when it comes to social justice issues and incarceration and things like that. Just to say this, when you said you were in favor of the bring everybody along, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little more, I hate that. Because America was not built with its knee on the neck of everybody, with everybody not being considered a citizen. It was not built on the premise to keep a certain group of people along. So everybody else has been coming along just fine. We need plans and focus on the Black community on how we're going to right this ship. And I just think that little words like that is a lot of pandering to both sides, but we can't get through this unless we're honest, open, and direct about what the real issues are that plague the Black community in America.
Amen.
Okay, and that's a whole lot to say. Brother T. West, I know you got a chance to really chop up his plan. What were your thoughts on Biden's plan?
Well, Joe Biden, I wouldn't even call that a plan, really. Most of it is not a plan. It's an agenda, okay? After an agenda, then you go to really the plan. That's where the tire hits the road at. So much of it was not a plan. It was an agenda. And much of it also, most of it is not really coming directly from Joe Biden. Joe Biden has adopted that. He had a conversation with Ice Cube, but I'm sure he's had a conversation with some other Blacks, and they've given him some things, and they've kind of quickly threw all of that together. And when you read it, it's very, very long when you read it. So, and also it all captioned out to 6 items, to 6 highlighted items. And in that agenda, the area that I would encourage everyone to look at are keywords such as this: the word job, the word business or businesses, the word capital, the word church. Okay, I advise everybody to look at that plan and look for those keywords in Biden's highlights, in his 6 highlights. Look at that. Look at it, because it's very, very important. And also, one last thing, in any agenda that is for Black America, you have to address how for decades illegal immigration has adversely hurt Black communities. And also you have to address how job outsourcing to other countries, and also H-1B visa programs coming in from China, coming in from India, coming in from various countries, how it has greatly adversely affected Black unemployment and jobs in America. Those are 2 critical areas that you must address and you must look at when you look at anybody's agenda, whether it's Joe Biden's or Donald Trump's agenda.
All right, Sister Vangie, what were your thoughts? Have you? I know you got a chance to look over Biden's plan. You actually looked at it a while ago.
Oh yeah. You know, and I'm looking at it from a different point of view. So coming from the political side, I am looking at it for the equity and equality points. And one of the things living in rural Virginia is that most Black people in rural Virginia have no equity or equality. And, you know, someone asked me the other day, do I feel that a Black person in suburbia has a better shot at life than that of a person in a rural community or a rural community versus an urban? Let me tell you something. It's different but the same in each community. But the difference is there are jobs in urban and suburbia, but none down in rural. We have nothing. And we've talked about this before throughout my campaign. Rural America for Blacks is like a stop. You get to a certain level. When a child graduates from high school here, we try to push them out. Go far away. Go to a city, because that way we know that they have economic, education, and socioeconomic growth. But when we are talking about rural communities, we're looking at it as you go to high school, that's all you get. You work in McDonald's and you might work in the shoe store, but you're not going to work anywhere else other than that. And that's the difference. I think with the Biden plan, I'm happy to see that he at least has a little bit of plan. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, You know, I'm not for Biden. I'm like, but are you for the one that's in there now? My thing is, we gotta get that man out. Do I think that I'm a little upset because as long as Kamala Harris, I'm going to say it, was on the ballot, there wasn't a lot of support for a woman of color who had a chance to make a difference for us. Now she's the second on the ticket. And now I'm hearing the same story coming back saying, what is she going to do for Black America? And I'm like, wait, we can't have our cake and eat it too. We are at this stagnant point. We in rural America are telling you, we don't have our votes don't really count to a lot of politicians because we are the lesser of the community. But in bigger scheme of things, we need something. And if Biden is introducing just a little bit of something, that's better than what Trump has introduced over the last 4 years, which is absolutely nothing. Devastation and humiliation is only the beginning. So I'm ready to see. I do think we need to add more to it. And I, like a lot of people who are on the political realm, trying to get to that table so that we can have that conversation to add more to it so we can do better for us in America. Because grow.
You know what, T West, I know that you really did a deep dive in this. Do you think this will help us? Do you think his plan will help us? Is it a good, can we just say it's a good, should we say like Vangie was saying, it's a good start and we can change it later? Or is it even worth trying to fix or improve or even use?
Well, what Biden has put forward, that's good. What Trump has put forward, that's good. There's going to be a debate next Tuesday between the two of them. That is very, very good, what both of them are doing. And the fact that they're doing that is a reflection of those of us who are out there and have been out there for a few years fighting to push forward a Black agenda. And both of these candidates have come forward with a Black agenda. Now it is up to us to force their agenda to be even better and to force from that agenda, the plans that come from that agenda, to force the fruition of those plans. Make sure that the plans are carried out from those agendas. So regardless of which candidate it is, and it's not mainly about political party. It's about what candidates support your agenda, whether they're Republican or whether they're Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, whoever they are, whether they support your agenda. And too often Black folks have voted Democrat without getting a return on their votes. So I am not going to sit here and push and promote Joe Biden simply because he's a Democrat. No, Joe Biden, he was the one, the mastermind behind the crime bill. Okay? All right, he was. And we cannot ignore that fact. We cannot ignore it.
No, we can't.
And we also, one last point, when he was asked the question about reparations, he refused to even talk about reparations during the presidential debate, and he instead started talking about immigrations. And he said, immigrants built America. He didn't say Black folks built America. He didn't say 246 years of Black labor, free labor, built America. He said immigrants. Okay, so that was a slap in the face. So that's the real Joe Biden. All right, I'll stop right there.
Well, I have that same concern because Trump has put out an agenda, Biden has put out an agenda, but neither of them have included the things that we've been asking and demanding for. When we said we have a Black agenda, we said reparations is key. We said reforming the judicial system is key, and immigration in a way that benefits us without harming us is key. And neither one of the plans address any of those points. And I mean, and of course, they give us what they want to give. They're not giving us what we've been asking and demanding for. Now, politicians are public servants, so they're supposed to serve our interests. Instead, they're pushing on us their interests. Like, look, all right, so I look at this plan. it's going to advance the economic mobility of African Americans and close the racial wealth and income gaps. That sounds great. All right. Then it's going to expand access to high quality education and tackle racial inequality in our educational system. Okay, so now he's going to do some stuff with the educational system. And as a part of that, he's going to address racial inequality. So he started off saying, hey, we're going to fix this wealth gap for y'all. We're going to do some things with education and we'll address inequality while we're doing it. But then it changes. Make far-reaching investments in ending health disparities by race. Okay, so now he's going to go ahead and focus on improving the medical system. That wasn't something that we've been pushing for. That's something that we demand anyway. All Americans have been saying we want a better medical system. All of us have been saying that. But this is not something that Black Americans in our agenda have been asking for. That piece isn't. Strengthen American commitments to justice. All right, so what does that mean? Strengthen, and Vangie, I saw you raise your hand, and I'll go right back to you. Strengthen Americans' commitment to justice. So he's gonna deeper fund the judicial system, which has already been wreaking havoc on us. We've been saying since the Emancipation Proclamation was read, we've been saying, hey, this judicial system isn't treating us fairly. But he wants to strengthen the judicial system. So that seems truly averse to what we've been saying since emancipation. And then make the right to vote and the right to equal protection real for African Americans. What does that mean? And then we're going to address environmental justice. We didn't say that was part of our agenda. So now I'll look at the 6 points. Is it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 of them are related to things we've been asking for. The other 3 are not related to things we've been asking for. Vangie and then Onyx.
So I'm going to go back to the health disparities and see, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that in America, a Black man or a Black woman can walk into a hospital and is treated differently than that of a white man or an immigrant. And one of the things that we have been demanding is that when a Black person walks into a hospital, that you're not treated differently because of pain medicine or what have you. So that wording is kind of iffy, but I understand what he said on that one. That's something that we've been fighting for maternal for mothers to survive when they go to have a baby. The chances of a mother walking out of a hospital for a baby or her life is really low for a Black woman. So there are some disparities there that we have to address. And that is something that Higher Heights and a couple other groups have been really pushing, because it is not talked about. And the second point was the one right after that about the vote. No, what was it? Strengthening America's commitment to justice. I think the easier way that they could have easily have said, we want to end the school to prison pipeline, instead of trying to be fancy worded about it. It's just, don't overspeak us. Tell us the blunt truth. Tell us exactly what the agenda is, and not try to make it a cute bumper sticker. It should be a point get right to the point. I understand where they're coming from, because we have campaign teams and they come back and they go, oh, this sounds so good. But I understand where some of these are coming from. At least 5 of them. One I have a question on, but the other 5 I can get down on. I'm trying to figure out the environmental justice one, but I got the other ones. Maybe y'all can explain that one to me.
Hey, Queen Onyx, what are your thoughts?
One of the things I just have an issue with overall is you giving us a Black plan and then using words that include everybody. And I said that earlier. If you're speaking to us, then speak to us directly. Right. Don't tell me what you want to do with everybody else. We're working on healthcare for everybody. It's not affecting everybody the same way it's affecting us. And I have a huge issue with the broadness of improving the judicial system statement. You had a lot to say, and you were the mastermind behind the crime bill, I'd like to know, what are you going to do to continue to reverse that? What are you going to do? Are you going to expand the First Step Act? Are you going to make that? Are you going to start removing some of these things automatically? You talked about marijuana and all of those things, automatically removing those convictions. What are you going to do to reverse some of these huge sentences that these black men got in the 90s, because that you were giving them life sentences and they didn't murder anybody. They didn't kill anybody. They had, maybe, I don't care if it was cocaine, crack, or heroin. You have murderers are getting out in 10 years, and you have some of these black men that have triple life sentences at 20 years old. So what are you going to do about that? Don't talk to me and give me these high-line things. I want to know exactly what you're going to do, because you knew exactly what you were going to do when you wrote that bill.
Any thoughts, Brother T. West?
Well, since we're focusing on Joe Biden's black agenda, first of all, in his 6 points, he has placed no values there. In other words, for example, dollar amount. What are your measurements? How are we going to judge you? What are your measurements? Have you put a dollar amount on anything? He hasn't done that in those top 6 right there. Has he set any hard set goals? He hasn't done any of that. He didn't do any of that in his top 6. And then in that 6 right there, when you go down into his agenda, they will explain some details to the 6, but you don't see hard numbers. Okay, for example, in contrast, Trump comes out and immediately says, I plan to create, my goal is to create 500,000 new black-owned businesses. Okay, that's got value. There's money involved with that would go to the black community. 500,000 new black-owned businesses. Or I plan to commit to capital investment into black communities of at least $500 billion. There's a value to that. All right. And then he addresses also, and Biden does not do this. And this is a Democrat problem too. The black church, like it or not, the black church has been a cornerstone in the black community for a very, very long time. And the Democrat Party has been kicking the black church to the curb. So there's nothing in there that's other than with Biden, other than for COVID-19. And COVID-19 just popped up on the scene, y'all. Okay, but the black church has been there all the time. But there's nothing from Biden's agenda that says, okay, this is what we're going to do to help the black church, help the black communities. This is what we're going to do. Biden doesn't address that at all, other than with COVID-19. And COVID-19 is just a Johnny come lately. That's all it is. It hasn't been around all along.
All right, so I'm looking more at Biden's plan, and he says he wants to advance the economic mobility. All right, so he says he wants to invest in African-American businesses and entrepreneurs. Okay, he's using federal money, and he's going to bolster the Small Business Administration, and maybe is it a minority small business administration as well?
Yeah, there is MBE, WBE, DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. Yeah, all that. That's been around forever. What Joe Biden has put forward is nothing new. That's been out there forever. Those are just words. That's what it is. Okay? But it is, how do you implement that? It's already been there. There's absolutely nothing new other than COVID-19. That's in what Joe Biden has presented in his 6 highlights. Okay? Nothing new. Absolutely nothing new. Okay? I want something new. We want something new. We want a change. Change is something new. It represents something new, not the same old, same old. Okay, HBCUs. When you look at Joe Biden's plan, you will see the word black maybe about 9 times. And it's mentioned with HBCUs except for one time. And the one time when it's not mentioned, black is not mentioned along with HBCUs, it is related to COVID-19. Okay? All right. Biden is too much into POC, people of color. He's too much into everybody else. That's why he did and said what he said during the Democrat presidential debate when he was asked a direct question. Biden, what about reparations to Black Americans? Biden totally avoided. He totally disrespected Black folks. Totally. And now he's trying to run for president for the third time and telling you all that, hey, I got a Black agenda. Well, Biden, Joe, you've been in Congress for about 50 years. Where the hell was your Black agenda for the last damn 50 years? And I like when Sister Hoyt, I love what she was talking about rural areas. I'm in a rural area. Okay? My objective is to bring Black folks back to where your parents and grandparents ran away from. It's to bring you back. And we create jobs ourselves. We do that. And Hoyt was correct when I said Hoyt, I'm sorry.
Vangie.
Vangie.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so in the rural area, we have created jobs for a long time. But you're right, Vangie, when you say that, okay, when you get out of high school, we want you to go to the big city. All right, it's time for us to rebuild in the ancestral lands that our ancestors were originally brought to. Everything's burning in California, water shortage in California, hell up in Portland, Oregon, hell up in Seattle, Washington. All right, Black folks, we have to have a master agenda. Our vision has to exceed what the visions were yesterday. And what Biden is pushing and peddling is nothing new. It's the same damn thing that they've been pushing and peddling for the last 50, 60 years. Nothing new.
You know, that's my concern. I think that not only are the politicians pushing the same old when it comes to us, but saying, hey, these immigrants, that's where we need to really focus. You know, the same thing that Sister Kamala Harris is doing when she's looking at expanding the H-1B1. I may have the acronym incorrect, but that particular piece of legislation, which is great, it allows people to immigrate who have skills and can really bring some tangible things here to the United States of America. But it's going to bring in more people from quote unquote Asian countries.
Yeah,
that's going to be all right. Right. Instead of saying, hey, let's sow into some of these STEM programs and make sure that Americans right now can have those opportunities. I really think we should take care of home first. You know, that's what my parents told me.
That's a two-edged sword. Okay, so here in northern neck of Virginia, we depend on those same immigrants to farm our farms. So when Trump stopped the program, our farms had no workers, because I'm gonna tell you, there weren't too many Black folks or white folks who want to go out there and farm that land. Those migrant workers coming in under the programs that were there were helping us. But at the same time, it was to a point where Black farmers lost out big time. Mr. Haney runs the African American Farmers Association. And let me tell you something. I can tell you, aquaculture and agriculture are two of the primary businesses on the East Coast. We farm, we give you your fish, you get everything from the East Coast. But when we lose those workers, we lost so much. And then we have to renegotiate the TPP, because that was part of this that Black people lost out on again. I want so badly, and Sickle, you and I have talked privately about what my goals are. I want to build back rural America, but I also want to build back rural America so that we have of growing Black farms, of growing Black agribusinesses and aqua businesses. because we started it and we need to make sure we maintain it. You know, I understand the cattle farmers are the top farmers of the country, but let me ask you a question. Do you know where your last orange came from or where your last lemon came from? When I see every other country on there, I know that America is suffering. That's where we need to focus. And T West had it perfectly. Bringing farming back to this country, bringing that industry is key. I said it last campaign. You know, we have to invest in America. Transportation, agriculture and aquaculture, infrastructure and environment. Bringing all that back home and empowering Black businesses to run it. Welcome to America, baby. It's what it's supposed to be. I'm just lost. And that's why Biden actually picked up on some of that agenda. And I know he's going forth with it, but his messaging isn't saying that on this website.
His messages is not saying that on the website. His tweets aren't saying it. I mean, what you just described is building up a stronger United States of America. I'm all for that. I'm definitely all for that. But what they're pushing with their messaging is immigrant first. So we're not going to even take care of the issues, and we're not going to, to T West's point. What do you think about reparations? We need to help immigrants. Yo, Onyx.
You know why this is happening? And T West made a good point about this being nothing new. It's happening because we haven't required anything new as the Black community. It's happening because we allow them to tell us what we're going to do, at what they're going to do for us as the Black community. It's happening because we use our talents and resources to support everyone else instead of banding together to make our own voice stronger in the Black community. So when we come together, because everyone gets on the civil rights bandwagon and want our energy and our creativity and our thought process and our passion, because we get it done. But when it comes to us banding together, we don't do that. That's why when people ask me what I am, Republican or Democrat, I say I am Onyx. Everyone has to earn my vote every single time, because at the end of the day, I need to see where you line up. And I know everyone's not going to agree with every single thing that I say, but I need to know what you're going to do for the Black community specifically. And we have to get out of this assimilation. We want to assimilate and we want to acquiesce, and everyone's copying us. And we need to get it through our thick skulls that once we band together and do what we need to do, that we can demand what it is that we want. But when you only have a few people on the front line, it's just not going to happen. Most of us just acquiesce. We want to be Hispanic. I bet if you would have posed that question about the African descent to everyone in America that's Black, almost half of those people would have found a way to not identify as Black, because a lot of times we are ashamed of what we really are, and that keeps us from banding together, and it keeps us from demanding the change that we seek until the system turns on them, and then they want to be Black. Then nobody wants to be Black until it's time to be Black. So everybody wants to be Black when it's cool and all of this, but when it's time to get down, when you start getting these charges, and then you want to turn to people like us to help you address this. You wasn't Black yesterday, bro. You wasn't worried about it yesterday, bro. I need Black people to stand up, unite, and stop fronting. We don't have change because we haven't demanded it, and we're not united.
That's interesting, because Sister Kamala Harris, when she ran for the Senate seat, she ran as the first Asian American woman running for the Senate seat. All right. Now, I got no problem with sis. She's very okay. Yeah. Let me put it back. Let me put it back. I don't have a problem with her self-identifying, is what I'm saying. I do have a problem with some of her positions. I do have a problem with some of her work history. But I have to admit, I do share some of her work history. Onyx, back in the day, I was knocking on doors, and if kids weren't coming to school in Portsmouth City Public Schools, I was taking some of those families to the court system. But I didn't let them get ramshacked. I didn't let them get ramshacked.
You weren't disproportionately affecting your own people on purpose. You were doing it as a level playing field. And there is a difference when someone specifically targets Black people to make a platform for themselves. And that's a huge difference in saying that we share the same background, because we don't share the same background when you disproportionately punish Black people.
I'll take that. But my point is, we do need to demand more. So we have gotten so accustomed to the politicians coming and saying, this is what I'm going to do. oh, that sounds great, I'm going to support you. Instead of saying, this is what I need you to do. And now we're having a lot of pushback when people like myself are saying, hey, if neither one of these races, neither one of these tickets support my agenda, I'm going to do what politicians do very often. They abstain. So, if we can look at anybody's senatorial, congressional record, their city council record, their school board record, their mayoral record. You can look at the votes where they said yay, nay, or they abstained. And if it wasn't in their interest, many times they abstained. So on the top level, ADOS 101, Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell, they're saying that they're going to vote down ballot Democrats. They're not going to vote on the presidential ticket. They're going to vote everything down ballot, but they're saying Democrat. All right, I'm not ADOS 101 when it comes to that particular portion. All right. There's some like people, foundational Black Americans, who are saying, we're going to say, are you voting for tangibles? Are you going to provide us with tangibles? If not, we're going to go down. We're going to go down. And we may not vote for anybody. We might just vote for dog catcher. I'm not there. Because I do see on the local level where it's super important. I see in the senatorial races that some of the people who are running in Virginia have some of our things in concern. Delegate Samaria, I can't pronounce his last name. Salute him. He was on the Beach Brothers show. He was hoping to try to end qualified immunity. So, I support that. I support him. My point is, we need to be able to say, if you don't rock with us, we're not rocking with you. But when we say that, a lot of us are getting pushback saying, this is the most important vote. When they said that 4 years ago, this is the most important vote of our lifetime. They said that 8 years ago. This is the most important vote. They said that 12 years ago. So I got somebody who came to me and said, well, Seiko, our ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. I said, yeah, they gave me the right to vote. Now it's my job to make it more valuable by demanding something for my vote. And that idea to them is just crazy. That idea to them is, we need to do more of demanding because we have the resources. And our resources most valuable before the vote. It's most valuable before November 3rd, because now we can do leverage. We can negotiate. We can say Biden, Trump, unless you rock with us, we're not rocking with you. We can't really negotiate very well with our votes after November 3rd. So we need to really push that. But I'm getting pushback. And, Vangie, you and I went back and forth with that. You and I went back and forth with that, and so my mom does too. My mom's calling me a sellout.
We got to make so I'm a mother of 6 daughters, and I taught my daughters to think freely. And one of the things that I taught them, like I had daughters who were so into Bernie Sanders that, we all just agreed not to talk to them about Bernie Sanders. Because when he decided to concede, you would have thought that the world was ending. But I have to look at this from a different point of view. My family is, okay, you know this, I ran as if I would have won my race in 18 or 20, I would have been the first woman of color, any color, to represent Virginia on Capitol Hill. And that stood strong with a lot of Black people because they know how pro-Black I am. They know how pro-Asian I am because I am Indian American. They know how I'm about tribal rights. So you take all of that, and it took a blended thought to say, when I say we, when I'm talking about minorities, I'm talking about Black people, and the fact that my 37% Nigerian blood can tell you that when I walk in a store, I'm going to be treated differently than if my 13% Irish and my 22% Scottish walks into a store, because they're not going to see it. But when it comes to my vote, and I've said this before, I vote American. I hate the two-party system. I think that every state for the presidential race needs to be ranked choice voting so that we can vote the best candidate in office based on what people want. What we have right now is a reality of scariness. When I have to tell my 14 and 16-year-old that Donald Trump, yes, he's the president and he scares the living hell out of them because they think he does not care if they die or live. That's where we are, that's where I am as a mother before all else. Because when it comes down to it, I'm okay, you love my stories. I'll give you a good one. Back 2018, Veterans Day, I went into a gun store and I was one of 3 Black people in the gun store. I went back last weekend and I was one of about 200. What does that tell you about what this race means? They are afraid. If Donald Trump is elected again, what will happen to Black America? In reality, what will happen to Black America, our rights? And if he gets his choice on the Supreme Court, what would that happen to women Americans? How does that affect us in the long run? I'm not worried about the abortion issue. I'm worried about the Black rights issue. Can he start instituting Jim Crow laws back in? Can he start, like with my grandmother down in Spartanburg, when we went to the store back in the 70s and 80s, go to the back of the store to buy shoes? Are we going to go back to that? Because let me tell you something, there are some folks who have gotten real cocky lately. And it's all because of that man. Where I'm at right now, yes, I'm at that point where I'm telling people, vote common sense. Don't vote just agenda. Vote common sense. Because common sense says we going real backwards. Real backwards.
Okay.
And that's
Brother T West, man.
As a mom, as a mother, as a wife, as a Black woman in America, if I can't take my Black ass anywhere, we're going to have some different problems November 4th. Because on January 20th, whoever gets sworn in, better have my life in mind. Because I don't know about y'all, but I like my freedom. And I like going forward.
Brother T West, man, you got a chance in one of your recent videos to juxtapose Biden's plan and Trump's plan.
Yeah. Well,
all right. So what are some of the other weaknesses in Biden's plan? Because you mentioned that there's a debate coming up soon. So what are some of the other weaknesses that he could bolster right now if he wants to start earning our votes?
Well, okay. Well, I can tell you one right now. He's not going to do it. Biden's not going to do it. But onshoring. Okay, onshoring, which is bringing manufacturing back to the United States from China, from Mexico, from India, from other places. Okay. All right. Doing that. Biden's not going to do that. All right. The other area also is with immigration, illegal immigration. Biden is not going to do that. Biden said on his, when he becomes president, first thing he's going to do, he is going to grant amnesty to over 11 million who are living in this country right now illegally. Okay. He's going to do that. Biden said that. Okay. And as I indicated, and I provided this chart, and I've done it for a few years now. There was a 20-year trending chart that showed young Black male incarceration. You see, it's not all about women. It's about men and women. Okay?
Right.
All right. Especially Black men and Black women. Black men were incarcerated at a record rate under Joe Biden's crime bill. At the same time, trending at the same trajectory. And this is a Pew Research poll. They were different, but I brought them together just so I could show the correlations between the two. What you saw on the same trend angle, you saw young Hispanic males being brought into America over that same 20-year period, as Black males were being incarcerated in prisons across America. That's Joe Biden. Joe Biden promised you things and he don't deliver. He's not going to deliver. He hasn't delivered for 50 years. Now, Trump, let me tell you something. Lyndon B. Johnson was a Democrat. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. Lyndon B. Johnson was a Texan, a racist, a known racist, and he wasn't shy about it. He was a racist. And Lyndon B. Johnson said, there's something that I need from Martin Luther King Jr. I need you to deliver something, the black vote, because at that time you had a slight majority of blacks who were voting. They were voting Republican at that time in the 1960s. All right. So Lyndon B. Johnson said to Martin Luther King Jr., look, you're going to have to make me do this. What you're asking me to do, you're going to have to make me do it. And what was that? Well, the problem in Black America at that time was that Black children in the millions were going hungry in America at that time. I'm alive at this time. They were going hungry, and those Black mothers needed food for their children. Okay? So Martin Luther King Jr. wanted Lyndon B. Johnson to address that. So Lyndon B. Johnson says, well, okay, you're going to have to make me do this. So Martin Luther King Jr. went out in the streets and he went about making Lyndon B. Johnson do it by getting the black vote for Lyndon B. Johnson, for the Democrat Party. And Lyndon B. Johnson, being the racist that he is, a Democrat, he said, I will have these niggers voting Democrat for the next 50 years. And black folks have been voting Democrat like that for the last 60 years. You do not vote. You do not vote personality, person. You vote for candidates who are going to push and support and promote what your agenda is. But if you don't have a written agenda, not their agenda, not Biden's agenda, not Trump's agenda, but an agenda that you have given to them, and say, this is my agenda, this is the black agenda, you don't vote for them unless they are promoting your agenda. So just to sum it up, this onshoring, Biden is not going to support that. Trump supports that. This illegal immigration, Biden is not going to support addressing that. He's going to grant amnesty, which is going to encourage millions of more to come into this country illegally. Trump supports that. Okay, so we're talking issues. We're not talking personality. When we talk about fear-mongering, mainstream media has hyped up and frightened the hell out of so many black folks across America by saying that America will end if Trump gets another 4 years. 4 years ago, they were saying America would end if Trump gets the first 4 years. Okay, all right. So they keep pushing this ball down the road, playing on black folks, some of black folks, ignorance. And it's time out to stop being ignorant. It's time to start being mature in our political awareness and in our political agendas. It's time out for all of that. So Joe Biden's agenda, I will say again, and this is my last word here, Joe Biden's agenda is nothing new. HBCUs addresses a small, very small sector of Black America. Most of Black America that is suffering are not HBCU type people. Okay? All right.
Expand African American home ownership and access to affordable, safe housing. Your thoughts? Yay, nay, abstain. We do it like the politicians do it. Yay, nay, or abstain. T. West, is this a good thing? Yay, nay, or abstain? Go ahead. Well, you're a realtor, so.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't matter who the president is. As a realtor, we're working to build that up anyway. America. It was interesting. I had to do some research on some numbers, and I was really astonished that 70% of Black folks in rural America own their homes, whereas in suburban and urban places it's only 30. So to realize that it really makes me look at groups like NACA and say, hey, praise them, because they are really trying to get Black folks into homes, because it's something that doesn't happen often. And I know that you do credit repair and what have you, and financial planning. One of the things that I think that we should be, instead of saying this, is let's teach Black folks how to find their wealth and grow their wealth in this country so that we don't have to depend on programs to get us into home ownership and what have you. Fair housing, you know what? As much as they quiz us on fair housing, we don't really have much more to learn. We just need to enact it and make sure that the laws are adhered to. So it's like that's one of those give me's. That's a give me.
So that's pretty much the same old, same old. Is that what you're saying?
That is.
Would you agree, Onyx?
Absolutely. Second verse, same as the first.
All right. Help families buy their first home and build wealth by creating new refundable, advanceable tax credits up to $15,000. Tackle racial bias that leads to homes in communities of color being assessed by appraisers below their fair value.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. This ain't a Biden thing, but this is a government thing, period. First of all, they changed the law so that homeowners don't get that tax credit anymore. You don't get a couple of credits. But the biggest one is, and Onyx, agree, you probably agree with me, Black women are the highest educated persons in this country, which means we have the highest student loans. I know I do. And I can tell you, using that as debt against my income for buying a house, if it hurts me, it hurts millions of Americans across the country, because what is it? 1% of your student debt is counted against you. That is what needs to be changed. If I went to school and I'm working for the government, state government, what have you, don't punish me for getting an education so I can break the black ceiling, because that's what's happening to Black women across this country right now. We're being punished in other ways.
All right, so Onyx, what are you thinking? Same old, same old?
Yeah, I was nodding my head the whole time because I really don't have any more to add. Vangie hit it all. I just feel like they find a way to punish us one way or the other. Give it education, then once you get the education, then we'll punish you this way. You need education to say, oh, it's just always something. And I just like a real plan around it.
Okay.
I'm looking at this rollback Trump administration policies gutting fair lending and fair housing protections. This is not something that's just benefiting us again. So once again, it seems to me like Trump, like T. West has said, his plan starts off saying these are the issues that impact the Black community, and then says this is what we're going to do for everybody. So we realize you have a disparate amount of challenges, but we're not going to focus on that. We're just going to help everybody, and what is it? Trickle down support.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Most people don't realize this. Based on where your Social Security number starts out at, it tells the lender instantly what race you are or your assumed race based on the first 3 digits of your Social Security number, and the 4th digit actually tells them what part of the city you lived in. So, for instance, if you were born in Washington, D.C., and your Social Security number is 577, it is guaranteed that you were born in Northeast or Southeast D.C. And it lets them know that your race is most likely Black. But if you're 578, and I got proof of this because I can prove this in my own house, 578, then you can walk into a car dealership and buy a car with the worst credit on earth. As a real estate agent, I was taught this 24 years ago by a gentleman who was my broker at the time, and he laid out how unfair fair credit is. So what I'm proposing to state and federal agencies, especially our leadership, let's stop using our Social Security number for buying houses and buying cars and what have you. And let's use our license ID number that does not identify where we were born, because that hurts our community tremendously. Tremendously. Go look up. Go do some little research of your own. First three numbers of Social Security number. If you live in a white neighborhood, you got, no matter what race you are, you sell through. But if you lived born in a Black neighborhood and everybody in your family has that same issue, guaranteeing you, that needs to be changed. And I love Clyde.
Brother T West, the 10-20-30 plan. I know that you've chatted on that before in one of your videos before. Your thoughts? Is it even worth looking at? Or is it something that we should look deeply into?
The 10-20-30 plan. Are you sure that I talked about that one, Seiko?
I may have mixed you up. Okay. I watch a lot, man. I watch your channel. I watch Yvette's channel, Antonio Moore's channel. I watch Professor Black Truth. He's the truth. Professor Black Truth is the truth. I watch Jason Black. Of course, I watch Tariq. So I may have mixed that up. That may have been something that Antonio Moore talked about. But when it comes down to it, I've looked at this over and I've come to the conclusion, like we said, it's more of the same old stuff. It doesn't sound like this came from our concerns. It does have some points that I like. I will say it does have some points that I like. So should we let good be the competitor for perfect?
Well, you have two candidates that are running for president right now, and then you have some senatorial, some congressional races that are happening right now also. So all of that is important. And what Black folk in America must do is that with both candidates from both sides, you're in a negotiation. And what you say to Biden is that, yeah, this point is good right here, but it's not good enough. It needs to be here. And then you go to Trump and you say, yeah, this point is good, but it needs to improve right here. And then what you do is you measure which one of those candidates are going to improve to the level that you are requiring that they improve. Okay, regardless of whether you think they're a racist or not. That's why I told you the historical story about Lyndon B. Johnson. It's not about that. The media makes all that mess up. They love a good horse race. The media earns their most amount of money during political season. And they cannot earn a lot of money by telling you that this is not even a close horse race. They got to tell you it's a close horse race in order to justify the amount of dollars that these candidates are paying the media for these campaign ads. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all those, okay, ABC, all that money. So I say again, and I want to emphasize this, that's why I'm repeating it, what we must do, regardless of who the person is, Biden or Trump, when we look at their agenda, we must say item 1, 2, 3, or whatever item it is not good enough. It's not up to par. It needs to be here. And then you judge them based upon whether or not they listened to you and raised that item to the level of your requirement. That's how you measure them. That's how you measure them. And I'll say one more again, do not let Joe Biden get away without putting numbers, dollar amounts, and goals in his 6 bullet items. Don't let him get away with that. Don't let him.
Okay. Onyx, go ahead.
I'd like to say something about the 10-20-30 plan, and it's what I continue to say. He says it's a plan to help all individuals living in persistently impoverished areas. I just like for our people to do the math sometimes when people say things. We are only 13% of the country. When you say all people living in impoverished areas, that is not us. That is something that they tell us. There is no way that 13% of America, with a disproportionate amount of our men locked up in prison, accounts for that amount of people. That is always something to throw us off. They put things under a Black agenda, and then they say it's for us. So I would just like to point out that I need for us to wake up and pay attention when they say this is the Black agenda, or this is what we're going to do for Black people, and they say things like all people, because even in where I live, where the majority of the community is Black, the majority of the people that live in impoverished areas are not Black. They live in trailer parks and things of that nature. And historically, people that live in trailer parks are of a different persuasion. So even in a city where 53% of the community is Black, we still don't make up the majority of an impoverished area. And I need us to pay attention when we say things like that, because that's not about us. That's about everyone else.
What? Hey, the words are right there. To tackle persistent poverty in all lives
I don't know
matter
how many Black people in
communities.
Utah, but I would gamble to say it ain't that many.
Vangie, your last thoughts. T West gave us marching orders. Onyx just gave us some marching orders. Some marching orders from you, Vangie. You ran for Congress. You know how the government works. You're a political strategist. We thank you. Your thoughts.
It's really, all points are very true. You have to look at who's running for your best interest. You have to look at what they're saying. I want people to listen. So there are two different things. You can listen and you can hear. You need to make sure your politicians, or who you want or who you think you want, is actually hearing what you're saying. If you remember, my whole campaign was based on the word heard. We weren't being heard. And still today, I feel that the Black community still is not being heard. Doing the riots the past year, you and I had a conversation ago about me not going to the Black Lives Matter marches, not because I didn't support the cause, but because I wanted my child to live. And we had several Black women who didn't hear me, but they listened to the other guy. And they listened in a way that they only heard what was being said at those rallies. But now this is the thing. When you're not being heard, you're missing the point. And when you're not listening to what's being said, you're not learning. Am I making that clear? So when you go when you're listening to the debate, listen to the candidates and hear the words they're saying. I'm going to tell you one test. Back when Obama ran, I went in with an open mind. I listened to him and Hillary debate. I listened to him and McCain debate. And there was a test that we did as Toastmasters. And they said the words, the cliche words. But if they use filler words like the word it or all, start counting them. And wonder if they're talking to you. We as Black Americans have often been the most overlooked, the most underpaid, the most underfed, the most underwhelmed, the most underemployed. You name it. We are the baseline. We aren't the above the baseline. We are the gauge of saying this man is making less or more because of that person. We have to change that. So when you go out this year, vote for a candidate who is talking your language, who is looking out for your best interests. They may not be perfect, but if they are saying any one of a few things, you need to make sure you're vetting that and checking it. Do your own fact check. Look at the dang videos. This is 2020. There's a video on every single topic that these two men will be talking about in their debate. Right. Do your own research. And for God's sake, don't get mad at people because they have a different opinion than you do about the man who you select. My neighbors are Black and they will tell you straight up they're voting for Trump and they have their logic and their reasons, and I still love them. Because not only did they vote for Trump, but they turn around and they vote for Democrats. So they're voting for the best candidate in their heart. So please do your research, and don't take. I'm not so how politically correct this is. Don't take your pastor's word for who you should vote for. Because there are some churches who lack the common moral decency to make that choice for you. Just don't do that. Make your own mind.
All right. Well, you mentioned that there are videos out there for everybody. I wanted to shout out again our good brother T West, who joined us today from Afro Synergy News.